It's all in the preparation. I go really deep on setups. What kind of kit is coming? How many toms? Is there an extra snare? What kind of guitars are we going to be working with? I'm going to be there all day Sunday and early on Monday.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Carl.
And you're listening to Secret Sonics. Honest conversations chock full of tactical advice to help you build your dream career in music and audio.
Whether it's skill development, mixing mindsets, personal branding, or work-life balance, we talk about ways to help set yourself up for success in the ever-changing music industry.
Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Secret Sonics. This is part 2 of our conversation with Dana Nielsen. In this part of the conversation, we talk about Dana's approach to vocal production and recording, techniques for getting the best performances from singers, the importance of preparation and studio sessions, navigating different artist personalities and workflows, vocal comping and editing techniques, balancing technical skills with interpersonal awareness, and what it's like to work with high-profile artists such as Adele and Ozzy Osbourne. So without further ado, let's get into it. The second part of our conversation with Dana Nielsen right here on Secret Sonics. Before we wrap the interpersonal side of our conversation, before we get a little bit geekier and techier, we sort of started talking about it before we started rolling tape.
Yeah.
There's that Avett Brothers record that you worked on, True Sadness. And there's that that beautiful song, No Hard Feelings, which everybody has to stop this podcast and go watch the YouTube recording, like the live, how it was tracked. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about everything that was going on from like the production standpoint to enable such an amazing moment to happen. Like what were you and the team doing to enable that? So there's like a documentary. I haven't seen the whole documentary, but there's the YouTube clip where it's just this profound moment of a recording session.
Yeah.
Set the scene that the production team was able to enable that to kind of go down.
Yeah. Well, if I remember correctly, it wasn't that long of a stint at Shangri-La. I feel like it was like 2 weeks, maybe. And the documentary is phenomenal. Even if you don't know the Avett Brothers, it's an amazing movie and you will know and love them after watching it. Yeah, it's an incredible Judd Apatow and Michael Bonfiglio and my friend Jonathan, who became friends, Jonathan Formansky. It's like he's the cinematographer, and those two directed it, and it's beautiful. And it really shows, the whole point of it is showing, which I think your listeners will really dig, the making of that album from songwriting sessions and pre-production all the way through to the end. And so I become a character in it about halfway through the movie when the band comes to Malibu to work at Shangri-La. And I'd never met them. I think you can see in the movie like me meeting them for the first time. I think, that was the first album I worked on with them. And we immediately hit it off. And to answer your question about preparedness, you can see in the movie, they did the writing at Echo Mountain in Asheville, which is an amazing studio. I've worked at a bunch. So they had all that preparation in the sort of writing way. You can see them writing these songs. And then for my part and Rick's part at Shangri-La, we were very prepared logistically. I knew that Rick wanted to record them live. There were a lot of players, it's a big band, including strings, cello and violin. And fitting all of that into the rooms at Shangri-La is tricky. It's not a huge live room. But so I figured out a way to get everybody in there. And of course, we've checked all the mics and have been recording by that point for that song, which is a truly incredible piece of music as a song, as a record. It's just amazing. We'd been recording for several days, and that by no stretch was like the first song we did. We'd really been in a groove, and it went down in like, I feel like there were maybe 6 passes of the song, probably. And that was probably number 6, maybe 5. My session would tell me by playlist numbers, I'm sure. But I do know that, when I went to mix it and the feeling on the go down was that it was just perfect. It was just a beautiful perfectly, I have chills now thinking about it, perfectly executed, played, emoted. It was gorgeous. And so we in the control room, you know, every take I would look to Rick and be like, "Man, this is so cool." Like they're just it's so emotional, you know. And for me, you know, here's my favorite side story of that story is I'm notoriously bad at recognizing lyrics until way later. And like I'm a music guy, you know, like I'm listening to the
Same.
playing, you know, the drum nuances, the chord, you know, voicings, the way it's all coming together. Of course, like you know, orally in the studio, how is it hi-fi? Is it what, you know, all these things. You know, you see what you're talking about in the film, which I know there are YouTube clips of where, you know, we in the control room are just like high-fiving and clapping and you know, you can see Rick come out and just like that was amazing, you know, and I told them as well, you know, like wow, you guys just incredible. And they were really stunned by that and there's a very poignant scene in the film right after where they need to take a break, Scott and Seth, and they're grappling with this weird feeling of just laying their hearts out on this very sad, joyous but sad song and are being congratulated for it. Like everybody's clapping, but to do that performance and sing those words, they're so deep in it that it feels utterly crazy to be applauded for. And it's really a fascinating moment that I wasn't privy to because I'm in the control room like getting ready for the next song. Meanwhile, the cameras, my buddy Jonathan is out there interviewing them from behind the camera about like why was that odd? You know, what can you explain what you're feeling right now? And that's that really incredible moment that's captured in the film. To fast forward, my favorite bit to kind of make fun of myself here a little bit is the next day. So again, I haven't heard that conversation. I don't see it until years later when the film is out. It's the next morning, you know, in walks Seth, who is the lead singer on that song. And I'm still buzzing from this incredible, productive day the day before. And, you know, I tell him, I'm like, man, that was amazing yesterday. And that song is so good. You know, it just has this this sort of like 6/8 sort of, you know, vibe. It feels very, and the strings, it feels very like, you know, stacks, like soul, like, and I'm telling him kind of all these things that I'm just riffing and saying now, you know, like it just feels so good, man. What a song, you know, it just makes me smile, makes me really smile, you know. And he had this perplexed look on his face and he looked at me and he's like, you mean the song about dying? And like, I had no idea. Literally, I was like, wait, what? And then I listened to it the very next time and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the saddest song in the whole world that's ever been written.
I
So,
this, you know what?
That's
I knew
crazy.
there was going to be like a lot of reasons why we get along so well, Dana. But that is me to a T. Like I don't know
yeah.
why. I just for whatever reason
Yeah.
I don't know. I like black out when it comes to lyrics, and I just
Yeah.
like I could be so in the moment of it, and it's almost like I'm listening to songs in a different language.
Hmm.
You know,
I think that's why listening to music in another language feels so at home, you know, to me or to you. It's like the language never mattered to me. Of course it does, and it's a big mistake to miss out on the language. And from that moment and many others like it, I really try to be much more aware of what's being said. But to me, and I've always blamed it on being a sax player, like sort of somebody who lives and dies by melody and phrasing, but has no language to it at all. You know, it's like it's a very monophonic vocal sounding extension of voice instrument that I express myself with. And I feel like I get caught as a writer myself, like, well, I know exactly how to like mumble the phrasing and melodies that I want, but my God, like fitting words syllabically into that don't make me hate myself is the hardest thing in the world to do. Like I have all of it figured out except what to say.
It's like you always look really, really sexy in a blurry mirror.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you have to look at like the fine details, that's when you're like, oh, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was bad at remembering lyrics until I realized that both of you don't hear it way more than I do.
Yeah. No, I have to really conscious, and I do. Like I'm very aware of them as a producer, and I pay close attention to them. I know how difficult they are to write and how meaningful they are to most of the population, and that they're really. I mean, I'm saying things that are obvious, but they're really worth our time and energy as producers, even as like muso producers who, like to really pay attention to, both for the artist's sake and the song's sake. What do you mean here? How can, like, I love working on lyrics with artists, not in a way that like, let's rewrite your song, but when there's an easy, well, I don't even want to say fix. I love asking when I'm confused as a listener, what is it you're saying here? Can I get a copy of those? I'm always like looking at a copy of the lyrics and, oh, you're saying that. Like, I always thought you were saying, I was just joking yesterday with Carissa, like, there's a bathroom on the right, like the Moonrise, what is that, Credence that we were listening to? There's so many times, I'm working with an artist right now where I've heard the song many times and like, what is it you're saying when we get into like vocal takes, like when it's time to really nail the take, like, what is it you're saying there again? Oh, okay. Is there a way to enunciate that a little bit differently without sounding like a school teacher, but that I want to make sure, because what you're saying, what you've written is awesome, but I've never heard it. It's never spoken to me like that. So how do we take your excellent lyrics and make sure that the recording of those lyrics translates to the listener exactly how you want? And sometimes when all else fails, it's like, just like hearing music in another language, it's still going to be cool if nobody knows what you're saying. So if to get to that win-win of intelligibility and cool, we've wrung all the cool out of it, then we'll definitely leave intelligibility on the cutting room floor, like, but it's fun to go deep on lyrics and make sure that they're fitting the song and at the very least being recorded in a way that the artist is backing and proud of.
Hey everyone, friend of the podcast and Grammy-nominated engineer/mixer Travis Ferentz hosts Progressions, Success in the Music Industry.
It's a podcast exploring creativity, productivity, and growth in music. Travis has set out to document his own journey and bring those valuable lessons to you to apply to your own career.
Join in each week for conversations with some of the industry's best and brightest about the mindsets and strategies that they use in their careers every day.
Whether you're feeling stuck, digging for inspiration, or just looking for a mix tip, Progressions is probably for you.
Go check it out wherever you get your podcasts or click the link in the show notes.
Have you ever sent a proposal to an artist and they just ghost you? They never respond to it. You had a really great conversation with them. Everything seemed like they were good to go. They wanted to work with you. But then when you send over the proposal with the price on it, they just kind of disappear off into the ether. I'm teaching a free class on how to sell them on the experience of working with you and why that's so special, why you're so special. Don't worry if you can't make it to the live session of the class, because we're going to be recording it so you could replay it at any time whenever you want. It's called the Platinum Pitch, Proposals Clients Can't Refuse. If you want free access to the class, just click the link in the show notes and get registered today. I want to come to your defense real quick.
Okay.
And to my own defense, but I'm going to pretend that I'm coming to your defense, even though I'm also defending myself.
Very savvy. It's very savvy.
Here's the thing. I think that, now there are probably more than 3 ways, but there's like at least 3 different ways that I think we listen to music as engineers and producers. We listen creatively when we're trying to think of how to make this better. Mm-hmm. We listen academically when we're trying to figure out how did they do that, right? We're trying to think of like how to like piece it together. But then I think we do also listen to things just like viscerally, like just instinctively. And I think probably going to be speaking for you as well, but at least speaking for myself, when I need to be academic, I'm really good at listening academically. When I need to listen creatively, I'm really good at listening creatively. But when I listen like instinctively, I'm just taking it all in. I'm
Yeah.
not paying attention to the lyrics. And I feel like some people, the way that we listen, that instinctive listen is just like the music is on and we're just experiencing the song. I think people like you and I, we're just kind of like taking in like the wall that's coming at us.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, they only notice the lyrics and they don't even know what's happening in the instrumental until they switch on their academic ears or their creative ears.
Yeah.
So I'm coming to your defense and saying that it's not that, lyrics aren't important. It's just that when we first kind of have that holistic intake of a song, like we just hear it from a different perspective than when we are actually like in it creating. And I think what's so
Yeah.
beautiful about a moment like that with Avett Brothers is that you would think being in that situation that you were in, as an engineer on this like big studio, big pressure, like with the cameras there and everything,
Yeah.
you'd think that you would be in academic mode at all times or like creative mode, but it was such a beautiful moment that you couldn't help yourself but to just be in holistic, just like taking it all in.
This is like
mode.
the Zen Rick Rubin session, Everyone's
Yeah.
just experiencing as it happens, right?
Yeah. Well, and we work very hard to achieve that. And a lot of it is front loaded. And what I mean by that is intense setup. And that's something that I do that I was trained to do by the people who I learned from, who also were in of Rick's incredible engineers before me, like Andrew Sheps and Greg Fiddleman and Ryan Hewitt and Dave Schiffman and all these people who I assisted for and edited for and stood in for short stints when they weren't available until, ultimately being the main person, for a long time. It's all in the preparation. I go really deep on setups, working with the studio staff ahead of time, input lists, talking to the artist manager, maybe a road manager. They're coming in from the road. What kind of instruments are they bringing? What are they playing? How many? Usually I can't yet. If I've never worked with a band, I don't really have any contact with the individual players, but I can talk to the road manager or the manager and like, what kind of kit is coming? How many toms? Is there an extra snare? What kind of guitars are we going to be working with? Does the rhythm guitar player ever sing backups? No, never, or no, just not on this song. Okay, but they do on another song. Okay, we're going to have a mic there for sure. Like going really hard on knowing exactly what's coming in. Because when it's time to hit record and Rick wants to arrive, he'll let me know, like, I'll be there at 1 p.m. on Monday. I'm going to be there all day Sunday and early on Monday. By the time Monday happens, everything should be worked out and we're just kind of running things through their paces, practicing moves like an orchestrated, team about like, okay, so if it comes up that we need to do this all acoustic and with drums going, because there is a song that maybe that's going to happen. They say no, but I know they're going to say yes. Then what we need to do is we're going to patch from here to here. We're going to borrow these 8 inputs. We're going to put them into here. These guitars go into the side bedrooms. What we need to do for that is they're already laid on the floor. We just pop in these barrels to, and we'll rehearse these sort of moves, so that when those things ultimately do come up, nobody's freaking out. I look at the house staff and like, okay, we're a go on that thing. You know exactly what to do. And so that allows Rick to be very in the moment, feeling that non-academic feel of the music. And, apart from just like the first 30 minutes of a session where we're really finding our footing and maybe there's a song changeover that requires some moves, setting up for that Avett Brothers Tree Sadness session was a lot of work, a lot of moving pieces, not to mention the film crew. But having done all that work, front loaded, as I said, means that I get to mostly live in that position as well. Once we get through those initial kinks, by the time we're hitting No Hard Feelings, all that stuff had been dialed, I'd made not final, never final, but little adjustments. So the toms, I can get this mic a little better because I'm picking up this, or let me move this gobo on the string players to whatever. And now we're cooking, And so that's a place I always want the producer to be, not worried about the technical stuff, really just listening to that non-academic wash. And I like to get myself there as soon as possible too, so that I take elaborate notes on every take and have my own. I have nice handwriting, but I also have my own hieroglyph, for takes, good takes, even better takes. When we're listening, what takes we listened to, who was in the room, what people said, like these are all trails of breadcrumbs, as I call them, so that 3 days later, when Rick or the artist is like, remember we were in here, it doesn't sound good right now, but I remember we were here and we listened back to this song and we listened to 3 takes, and I feel like there was that one that we loved, like, why doesn't it sound like that? I can flip back 4 or 5 pages. Oh yeah, we listened to these 3 takes. I've got my session marker numbers for each take. They were all printed into the session, and I have a note here that you and you said that's the one. So like there's never a question, because as soon as the artist or Rick is like, are you sure, Dana? I don't know. This isn't as good as I remember. I need to be able to be absolutely sure, be like, for sure, this is the one. You're just playing it better now. And it wasn't as good. And now in retrospect, we're beating it, like, because as soon as somebody is doubtful, the whole house of cards will crumble, especially for certain artists. Certain artists will just roll with the punches and be like, whatever, let's just go do it again, But others, it's very essential to their studio well-being and personal well-being to know that you've got their back and that you know what you're talking about, that you're taking notes and can, without a doubt, tell them what's going on. Because that lets them just be creative and forget about all that stuff because they know Dana's doing it,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of prep. That's a long answer to just say a lot of prep is what gets us all there, and to be able to listen more to the music than be freaking out over technical things.
I think you put it really nicely. It kind of like gets the academic out of the way to enable that like instinct and like that visceral exploration of it happen.
You've checked all your boxes, crossed your T's, dotted your
Right.
I's, and now let's listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a really good feeling to work with a team in that place, to know that you're organized, everybody knows what's up, everybody has rehearsed moves of what might be up, and to have a producer like Rick in those situations who, when the band wants to do something or he wants to do something that's completely out of left field, for me to be able to be like, I totally get it. That's going to take a little time to do that kind of switch. And, for him to be like, cool, just call me in when it's ready, And if it's taking longer than he thinks it should, he'll check in and be like, how's that coming? I'm almost there. I need, 5 more minutes. Cool. Other people, artists as well. And he's very great about helping artists have that sense of calm, because not everybody has it. I've been on some very high profile sessions with iconic artists who are losing their minds over something that's not working or isn't coming together as fast enough, and having those experiences with Rick are really important and invaluable to me, because it shows me that at the highest level, you don't have to lose your mind. If those same artists were losing their mind, what's taking so long? Like, what? Come on, Rick would definitely just go in and be like, hey man, let's go walk outside, man. They'll figure this out. Tell me about, you just went to, Maui, right? Tell me about that, like, let's go chat, and there's no reason for, shouting and craziness and anger. And like a lot of people like lead with that, like they got to drive a crazy ship and I'm angry and we're here to, like that is not my style. And I do not respond well to that. And so I'm so glad to have had the amazing window and honor, working with Rick, who is not that way at all either. I've never seen him lose his shit. So it's cool to be prepared and to be respected when something falls outside of that preparation, to have an opportunity to do it well and have a team that thinks ahead of you, that is your training wheels, to make a callback to what we already talked about. It's awesome. That's a great place to be.
Amazing. So Dana, I know kind of your thing is vocals, also editing vocals like Melodyne, tracking vocals. Can you give us like a little bit of like a peek under the hood of your approach to getting vocals that artists are super proud of?
Yeah. It kind of starts with the takes, getting awesome takes. I love working with singers and rappers and, capturing their best performances. Sometimes day to day, minute by minute, it can change. Someone's voice might sound amazing one day. And the next day it's still amazing. It's still them, they're still just crushing it. But man, the voice is such a fickle, minute by minute instrument. So anyway, yeah, I love working with singers. I sing myself, which is something I don't lead with. And if I'm going to help with guidance on the talk back, I'm never like singing.
You never gave, singing suggestions to Adele or anything?
No. I mean, she needs none. Those sessions, my dear friend Greg Fiddleman recorded, and I was in the next room over taking all those vocal passes and band passes and editing them together, making comps, just figuring out, looking at his notes and Rick's notes about, here's the 6 takes and there was some good stuff here on each one, whatever. But they're all like, with a band like that and a voice like hers, like they're all freaking amazing. And that's what that natural vocal production course is about, where it's like, what do you do with a bunch of amazing takes? Like, how do you decide what one to pick, when it's like someone who isn't as good as Adele,
which is everyone, right?
Yeah,
which is everyone,
the rest
right?
of humanity. Yeah.
The rest of humanity, there are often times when comping a vocal are clear winners and clear losers, where you're like, well, this one isn't it, this one isn't it. But these two, like, I think I can cobble something together that's going to sound like a record, But with her and thankfully a lot of the folks I've been lucky to work with, they're like, it's a different problem. It's like, which has that magic quality? Yeah. So I love, it's painstaking work, especially the comping and editing and tuning of, but it all starts, just getting the great performance. And different singers love to work in different ways, whether it's like, I like to just run the whole song top to bottom a bunch of times, or some people it's like line by line. I remember working with Ozzy on the 13 album. He has a very specific method that's like line by line, because he wants to get the performance and then his signature like double and triple, that sort of stacked thing. And so that was its own unique way of very quickly putting comps together on the fly, recording absolutely everything, but making quick decisions line by line, sometimes few words at a time, onto comp tracks so that he can quickly double while it's fresh in his head and do all that kind of stuff. So working within the singer's desired workflow, if they have one, being able to just make quick decisions to comp things on the fly and to have great notes and technical speed with your tools to be able to never miss anything and keep track of it all, in Pro Tools, whether that's, playlists and numbering and naming conventions and all that stuff. But I do love like the working with singers on the performance aspect as well. Certain people like Adele or Ozzy, you're like, they're they're gonna do it how they do it, and it's incredible. Other folks, I love getting in the weeds and letting their performance designate where we're going. Where I'm not like singing something for someone else to sing, but I will hear things that they'll do if they're doing a bunch of different passes. I'll be like, you did this thing in the bridge on the last one that was so awesome, and you haven't done it since. Can I play you that little nugget there? Oh yeah, of course. And I'll play. Oh, I see what I did. Yeah. So let's do another one and like do that thing again. Like the way you kind of like your voice kind of crackled up there when you hit that high note, like so good, like so I love pointing out to artists, whether they're singers or instrumentalists or whatever, stuff that they're knowingly or unknowingly like already doing great and being like, that's the stuff, and we have it. So don't get in your head about it. We can use this one. There's nothing wrong with that. But as we do more takes here, this is the good stuff. I'm going to show you the stuff that you're doing amazing, And if there's a time where it's like, look, we have got it. All this stuff is great. You just still getting we don't have one yet that isn't a little bit under pitch wise on the high thing when you hit it. I'm going to play you the best one that you've done. Let's see if we can just beat that because it's still a little bit under, and like just kind of working with them as a singer without singing to them all the time, but knowing the voice and knowing pitch and phrasing and letting their good work lead the way, and me just kind of being a way shower of like, this is good, do more of that. It's much easier and more fun and rewarding to them to use their voice as the guide than mine, to be like, sing it like this.
Well, and I think that means what's happening there is you are using your experience as a vocalist, not just to be able to make recommendations of what to do and like in a real obvious way, but you're also using your experience as a vocalist to understand what it would be like on the other side if somebody was trying to give you suggestions and like singing stuff at you to try and how that would get in your head. So it's not just using your experience to translate the ideas, it's using your experience to empathize with their mindset and knowing when to like step around the danger zone to be able to still get the results that you want.
Yeah, that's very well said. And then also on top of that, knowing when we've reached a point that that's the best we're going to get. And I know from my end and experience, like I have what I need. I can make the sound that I know that they're trying to make with the components that we have, whether that's comping syllables or working with it a little bit in Melodyne or, like, and again, just like we talked about earlier, reading the room and understanding the vibe, you have to be very in tune to the singer's vibe and what kind of leeway you might have. How good is your relationship? How long have you worked together? How much do they trust you? How much are they sick of singing? What else is going on in their day? How your conversations have been going on talkback. Some singers are like, do we have it? Dana, don't sell me short. Like I'll go all day, make sure we, a lot of singers are a lot of fun like that and really want to work, and others, aren't. And like, that's all I got. I crushed those three. Please tell me you have it, because I've had a really hard day and I don't know if I can, no worries. We have got it. Like, you're good, it's the whole gamut, and so knowing how much you can push somebody, maybe somebody says that, but you have such a rapport with them from weeks or months or years together, you can call bullshit and be like, come on, I know you're so close, just give me another chorus. Like, I promise you, we're almost done, that's another type of relationship, one that's definitely built on experience and love and trust where you can, call them on their shit.
Yeah. I love that. It's all artist first and you're the facilitator. That's like sort of the
that's the gig.
That's the gig.
At least in my mind, that's it. That's really the key.
Yeah, Dana, this was so fun. I learned a ton and the stories were epic, and I definitely understand why people like Rick want to work with you and why you're doing such great work and working with the artists you're working with. And,
Thank you.
you definitely have a way that I think is super like artist first and just knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to be there as the support team for the artists that you're working with.
Thanks, man.
So
thank you, guys.
this is a really great masterclass lesson here.
It really
how to
is
do
like,
that.
I love my job so much, as I know the three of us all do. And I'm a lucky dude to get to to do this. Yeah, it's so much fun. And I'm always humbled and honored working with the artists I get to work with, and just like, wow, I can't believe I get to do this. It's so cool. So, and it's really been a treat to talk to you guys and hang out here. This is killer. I love what you're doing.
we love what you're doing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on and giving us a little peek behind the curtain of, those really, really high profile, high intensity sessions and kind of what goes on behind it that we don't really hear about. And I do want to say a very specific thank you for answering Ben's question about, what to do to make a really to make a vocalist feel really great about their performance. Thank you for not answering it with a gear response, because I feel like and I was like, I almost felt like that was what Ben was like, we've been talking about people too much. We got to talk about something technical. And he tried to push us there, and you were like, no. I will talk about confidence. And
interesting.
I wasn't specific. I mean, we were specifically going for tech, but I wasn't like,
that's
specific.
Interesting. I mean, I wasn't trying to avoid anything, and it's much more of an afterthought. There's of course we all have our favorite pieces that we rely on gear wise, but it doesn't matter in the slightest, like that. There's so many things you could use to capture a vocal, and there's so many ways afterwards in mixing to make a kind of subpar recording sound amazing. So yeah, it didn't even cross my mind in the context of your question.
Yeah.
And that's why we get along.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Well, this has been so fun.
Yeah, this is
Thank
awesome,
you.
you guys.
Thank you both for hanging with
me.
Of course.
This is a treat.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. If anything here resonated with you, please share this or your favorite episode with a friend.
And as always, we love to hear from our listeners. So find us on social media at Secret Sonics,
at Ben Wallach Music,
and at Carl Bonner. Until next time, bye, Ben.
Bye, Carl. That was good. I think the outro was great.